I'm Katharine Radice. I teach Latin at Parkside Community College, and I'm the Classics lead for the wider Multi-Academy Trust United Learning. So I think my Classics journey was step by step. I did Latin and Greek for GCSE, but I wouldn't say it began there because I didn't really fall in love with the subject until I was an A-level student. And it was when I read the Medea, Greek tragedy, that I really thought this is something which is going to pull me in and keep me going. As someone who's been working with classics for 20 odd years, what I love so much about it now is the fact that there are three worlds that are always kind of speaking to each other. The Roman world is, listening to and responding to the Greek world. And our response to both of those worlds is influenced by our modern day culture and our historical culture as well. So I think that interaction between three different worlds is really interesting. I also love the fact that the languages, if you deal with three languages, you've got Greek, Latin, English, they're three really different languages, and thinking about one and trying to move meaning from one language into another language is really exciting and really difficult, and it really makes you think about what that meaning actually is. I definitely wasn't the sort of person who grew up thinking, I'm going to be a classicist. I think very few people are. I think it's something which evolved over time for me. I think to begin with, I did it because it was respected as a subject. I did it because I found them quite challenging, but I don't think I became a classicist in terms of thinking this is a subject that's for me until I got far enough into it to become really excited by the sorts of questions I could ask and the material that I could read. And that was much further down the line, A-level and then university. I'm a classics teacher. So classics has had a big impact on the job that I do, but I wouldn't still be teaching, and I certainly wouldn't still be teaching classics if it wasn't for the fact that I think classics as a subject helps people grow. When I look at the kids that I teach, I think I'm not wasting your time because you're able to work with something which allows you to grow in different ways. And I think where classics has really influenced me as an actual teacher is that classics is really flexible in how you engage with it. If you want to take one big bit of content, like, for example, the story of Medea, you can engage with it in English, through art, through tragedy, all different types of ways. And so it means as a teacher, when you're trying to get access to something, you can look at it through different mediums. And it means as a teacher, you're constantly thinking, not just what am I going to teach, but how am I going to teach it? And what am I going to do that's particular for these kids right here to help them grow as they study this subject? What I would say to anyone thinking about doing classics, don't get distracted by the whole how's it going to be useful debate. Because the fact is that question of what are you going to do with that knowledge applies to every subject. And for pretty much every single subject, the answer is nothing much at all. Pretty much nobody uses the knowledge they learned at school in the rest of their life. The question you've got to ask yourself is not, what am I going to do with the knowledge? You've got to ask yourself, how am I going to be at the end of it? And if you think studying classics is going to make you a little bit more reflective, a little bit more curious about the story of your culture, how it's grown up, the story of how things change over time, if you think it's going to make you a little bit sharper with how you interact with language, if you think it's going to help you become those sorts of things, then it's got massive value for you. And the other thing I'd say to anyone interested in studying classics, go into classics hungry to engage with the big questions. Go into it wanting to find out what makes societies work, what makes societies fall apart. Go into it wanting to know what emotions drive actions. Go into it wanting to know how societies are different from each other.